For several decades, the West has been the dominant global power, setting the rules and calling the shots. But now, Russia and China are rising fast, and they're challenging the West's dominance in a big way. They're not just asking for a seat at the table, they're building their own table with their own rules. In this video, we'll explore how these two nations are shaking up the global status quo, from their economic and political influence to their military and strategic moves. It's a new era of global competition, and the West is no longer the only game in town. Have you heard the rumors about Vladimir Putin and Xi Jinping's secret plan to take control of the world? They want to challenge Western dominance and become the new global leaders. But how do they plan to do it? Well, Xi Jinping likes to work behind the scenes, building China's military and making friends with other countries through trade and helpful gestures. Putin, on the other hand, likes to show off his strength, like when he tried to take over Ukraine. But both leaders agree on one thing. They want to shake up the current world order and take the reins. So what's their master plan? Before we dive in, let's just say that Putin and Xi have become super close buddies, and that's key to their strategy. On February 8, 2024, the two leaders had a friendly chat and agreed on some big things. They want to create a more balanced world order, where multiple countries have a say, and not just the US. They're tired of American interference in other countries' affairs and want to establish their own influence. It looks like this cooperation has been brewing for a while. Russia is now China's top oil supplier, and they're planning to work together on energy projects in 2024. They also discussed the messy situation in the Middle East, but didn't share too many details. One thing's for sure, though. Russia supports China's approach to Taiwan, which could mean trouble if China decides to invade. The Chinese media is also buzzing with friendly messages. They're calling for close coordination to defend their country's security and sovereignty. Xi even said that China and Russia should work together to maintain stability and create new opportunities for cooperation. Are you paying attention to the news? Because something big is happening right before our eyes. China and Russia are forming a powerful alliance, and they want the world to know about it. But here's the thing. This alliance has been brewing for years. They're not just friends, they're partners in a no-limits partnership that's been growing stronger since February 2022. Just days after they announced this partnership, Russia invaded Ukraine, and the world has been watching closely ever since. Some experts, like Harvard professor Graham Allison, called this partnership the most consequential undeclared alliance in the world. That means China and Russia are working together to become an unofficial superpower that opposes the US. We've seen evidence of this partnership in action, from Xi's visit to Moscow in March 2023 to their recent phone call. During that visit, Xi proposed a 12-point peace plan to resolve the Ukraine war, but the US and Ukraine weren't too excited about it. It seems like China and Russia are getting closer and closer, and the world is taking notice. So, you want to know about Putin and Xi's plan for global control? Well, part one is simple. Work together, boost their economies, and become a diplomatic force to be reckoned with. And if the US feels threatened, that's not their problem. After all, the US has plenty of allies, so why not work together? Trade and economic interests are a big part of this no-limits partnership. But what really unites Xi and Putin is their belief that the West is arrogant and tries to limit China and potentially destroy Russia. However, there's a potential flaw in this partnership. While Russia and China have worked together before, the dynamics have changed. Back in the Soviet days, Russia was the big brother and China was the junior partner. But now, China has taken the lead economically, and Russia is trying to keep up. This shift in power could cause problems in their relationship. Xi might see Putin's grandstanding as arrogant, just like the US, and Putin might not be happy with being seen as the junior partner to China. But for now, their alliance seems stronger than ever. They're taking actions that show that they're in this together. Remember when Putin and Xi met in March of 2023? Putin had a message about the Ukraine conflict. Russia will keep fighting for at least 5 years. He wanted to reassure Xi that Russia would win and come out on top. The 5-year timeline is important too. It suggests a longer conflict will benefit China, and Putin wants Xi to stay on his side. This war has actually brought Russia and China closer together, from an anti-West alliance to a united front against the US. Sure, there might be tensions behind the scenes, especially since Russia now relies more on China economically. But their bond is getting stronger, like metal forged in fire. Now they're focusing on building their geopolitical influence. That's where the BRI comes in. Do you want to know about China's Belt and Road Initiative, or BRI? It's a plan to create new trade routes that connect China to the rest of the world. China lends money and expertise to developing countries to build infrastructure for these routes. It's a win-win. Smaller nations modernize, and China builds stronger relationships with countries that used to rely on the US. But here's the thing. BRI is also about China's rivalry with the US. Right now, China's international sea trade goes through the Malacca Strait, which is controlled by an American ally. By creating new trade routes, China can bypass US-controlled routes and secure its own. Now that's great news for Xi and Putin, who have both faced economic sanctions from the West. But the BRI goes deeper than just infrastructure. China wants to make participating nations dependent on its economy. Here's how. China offers loans with favorable terms, but with a catch. Countries that take these loans can't restructure their debt with Western powers. That means they're tied to China's economy for the long haul. It's like an economic alliance, but with China in the driver's seat. Here's another condition that's even more concerning. China can demand repayment of its BRI loans at any time. Now that's a huge deal. China is currently owed $1 trillion in BRI debt by over 100 nations. If China asks for its money back suddenly, the countries that borrowed will be in a tough spot. They don't have the money to pay back the loans, and they definitely don't have the cash to pay it back instantly. If China calls in its loans, it will have a lot of power over those countries. China might offer to forgive the debt, but only if those countries make some big concessions, like giving China control over the infrastructure or even allowing China to build military bases on their territory. It's a very clever plan, and Putin fully supports it. Russia isn't directly involved in BRI, but Putin knows it benefits Moscow by offering alternative trade routes and giving Xi, and therefore Putin, control over the participating nations. That's why Putin attended the October 2023 BRI summit, his first visit to China since invading Ukraine. Christoph Niederpil-Wang, director of the Griffith Asia Institute, says Putin's invite to the summit was a clear message to Western powers. You're not welcome here. Only those who agree with Xi's vision were allowed in. Xi used the forum to promote a multipolar political spectrum, which both Xi and Putin support. Putin praised the BRI, saying China provides opportunities without imposing its will on others. China uses its vast financial resources to build infrastructure in other nations, currying favor and positioning itself and Russia as cooperative forces. If needed, China can use its loan conditions as leverage, benefiting both Xi and Putin. But that's not all. There's another example of Xi using his financial muscle to further their anti-West agendas: BRICS. In 2006, Brazil, Russia, India, and China formed the BRIC group to further their economic and global political agendas. South Africa joined in 2010, creating BRICS, a collective challenge to Western power. Until 2023, the BRICS was pretty neutral, with members like India and Brazil trying to balance between East and West. But then, 6 new countries joined, including Iran, Egypt, and Argentina, which lean more towards Xi and Putin's anti-West views. Iran in particular is a strong anti-West voice in the Middle East, and its inclusion might make BRICS more anti-American than ever. The other new members, like Ethiopia and Saudi Arabia, might not share those views, but by joining BRICS, they're feeding into Xi and Putin's plans. For Xi, this expansion was a big diplomatic win, and he even received a prestigious award from South Africa. For Putin, it's a chance to cause friction in U.S. relationships with BRICS members, especially with Iran on board. This could lead to a more anti-West stance from BRICS, benefiting both Xi and Putin. But here's the thing. Brazil and India, which are friendly with the U.S., might have to make some tough choices to keep their voices heard in BRICS. Will they prioritize their friendships with the U.S. or appease Xi and Putin? Putin's getting a boost from BRICS too. With more members, he can show Russia isn't isolated globally, despite condemnation for his Ukraine actions. Adding Egypt, a strong ally, and energy-rich Iran, UAE, and Saudi Arabia expands Putin's influence in the energy sector. This growth feeds into Xi and Putin's plan to shake up the global order. Xi positions himself as a peacemaker, offering support to countries feeling neglected by the West. Putin gains a stronger anti-West voice within BRICS, ideal for his bold approach. Both benefit, and their voices are among the loudest in BRICS. Oh, and there's talk of a new currency to challenge the US dollar. Maybe not a traditional one, but a cryptocurrency for international trade within BRICS is possible. That would weaken Western dominance and the US dollar's influence. The plan for global control is taking shape. Through their No Limits partnership, Xi and Putin have deepened their bond, using China's BRI to create new trade routes and build leverage over smaller nations. It's a clever strategy to counter Western powers. But what about military ties? While there's no formal alliance, clues suggest they're working together militarily, keeping details secret. One thing's clear, they happily sell weapons to each other. Russia sold billions to China, helping its rapid military modernization. In 2015, Putin sold $7 billion worth to Beijing. While Xi hesitated to supply weapons to Putin during the Ukraine war, there were signs he provided components to make Russian weapons more effective. Ukrainian forces found Chinese parts in Russian-made weapons in April 2023. It's a complex web, but Xi and Putin's military partnership is real, even if they won't admit it. There have been joint military exercises between Putin and Xi. In 2023, they held exercises near Japan, and in 2022, they held at least 5 exercises in the East China Sea and the Sea of Japan. We don't know what was discussed or planned, but it's clear they're preparing to team up against the West. The Xi-Putin alliance is often seen as just economic, but it's really about building influence and control. For now, they're united in their efforts, despite Russia's junior partner status potentially causing future friction. It's now obvious that Russia and China are changing the game. They're challenging the West's dominance and creating a new world order. This means big changes for how countries work together, make decisions, and keep each other safe. The West needs to wake up and adapt to this new reality, or it'll be left behind. The future of global leadership is being rewritten, and Russia and China are playing a big role in it. Thanks for watching. Please drop your thoughts in the comments and share this video. And don't forget to subscribe.